Okay, everybody, let's take it from the top.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Hi-ho, everybody, and welcome back to D Plus Us, the show about all things Disney. I'm one of your hosts, Griffin Tennell, Griffey D. Patton. With me, as always, is the amazing, the fantastic, the spectacular Mr. Mitch George. How are you doing today?
This movie is the fan-stick for whatever you want to call that terrible movie of all X-Men movies, and I'm standing by that.
We are finally reaching the nexus of all of these bad movies we've been going through. All of this came from one horrible idea months ago, and now we are
That we
finally...
would just cover bad movies during the strike?
No, it was really just this one movie. It was just this one movie that we knew was terrible, but we wanted to talk about it anyways, and that is the New Mutants. But Mitch, we couldn't just torture ourselves for this one.
Nope.
We couldn't just ruin ourselves. We had to ruin someone who has never seen the movie before. Justin, I'm sorry.
Justin.
Thank you for that introduction. Is that the introduction? Is that my
Yes,
introduction?
that's your introduction.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
sorry.
right.
I'm sorry to do this to you.
Give me the history here. How many episodes has it been? Like, I've been dying to be a guest because I love you guys and love the show. I full disclosure, I am the brother of one of your guests before. My brother has been a guest on the show.
Yeah, we've had
And this is
Jason
the
on.
first. Yeah, this is the first time you guys have had me on your show, and you give me this piece of crap.
To be fair, you volunteered
which was a
for
mistake
this.
on your part, to be honest. So
You gave Anthony, you gave Ant Cool Runnings, and you gave
yeah,
me
it was a
this.
great movie. Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
That was
I
my
also
first
want it
episode
on the
I listened
record
to.
that you volunteered for this. We put it up in Discord. Hey, would someone be interested in doing this terrible idea with us months ago? And you said yes.
Yeah, I wanted to see it. I'd never seen it.
And we
I'd never
waited- we
seen it up
waited-
to then.
We waited for the perfect time of year to watch this stinker of the horror movie? Question mark.
Of a
I never
wannabe
went
horror movie
there.
that got all the horror cut out of it. We'll talk about all of the cuts and the rewrites and all the re-editing of this movie, the massive bomb of the box office, in just a second, but we do have some housekeeping first. First off, hey, what's up? You on podcast services? You rock. Thank you for listening, but we also got a YouTube channel where you can see our lovely faces. That was not planned. That was not planned at all.
Perfect timing.
Head over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@D+us, to check out all of our videos, see this stuff, see the video essays we'll be putting out. Housekeeping number 2. New video essay dropping here in a couple weeks. Officially say that now. We'll drop probably not long after our next episode. I'm in the final stages of editing. Thank God. This has been a project. It is so much stupider than the last one I made.
So much more fun. I can't wait to watch it.
So much happier.
Good.
Let's talk
we
about
need in these
comic
hard
books rather
times.
than the state of the United States of America. So yeah, that's coming out here soon. And then the other one, last piece of housekeeping for us, folks, is remember that strikes are still occurring. SAG-AFTRA is still striking at the moment of us recording this, so we will still not be talking about anything new. So if you're expecting the eventual episodes on Ahsoka or Loki, Haunted Mansion, whatever, those are still all postponed until these strikes are over. We don't want to be talking about any new content until actors are getting their due, as the writers already have. So, go support the strike. Keep an eye out on SAG-AFTRA's official channels for any information on that stuff. And we'll still be here chilling, having a good time. With all that out of the way, y'all, New Mutants, released August 28th, 2020. Supposed to have been released far before it. Directed by Josh Boone, starring Maisie Williams, Anya Taylor-Joy, Charlie Heaton, Alice Braga, Blue Hunt, Henry Zaga, Adam Beach. Runtime of 94 minutes. It feels simultaneously way shorter and way longer than that.
This is the longest hour-and-a-half movie I've ever watched.
I fell asleep halfway through it. So
I didn't fall asleep, but when I saw there was 90 minutes, I'm like, yes, this going to end very soon.
It
I
does have a tight
did
runtime, which is
fall
nice.
asleep trying to watch this on my initial watch of it when it first dropped on Disney Plus, like 2-ish years ago. And then again watching it, I'm just like, wow, this thing drags.
Mm-hmm.
It drags.
Budget of roughly $67 to $80 million with a box office of 49.2, based off of the New Mutants from X-Men lore. A fantastic group of superhumans. A fantastic mutant group. One of my favorite mutants groups. That's just destroyed in this. I've sent Scott redemption for some of my favorite characters, particularly Midnight Suns, and Magic is awesome in Midnight Suns. Go play Midnight Suns instead of watching this movie.
That's a pretty glowing review of Midnight. Actually, it's a pretty middling review of Midnight Suns, to be honest, because I would literally do anything else rather than watch this movie.
Justin, I want to start with you. When we had this idea, I got a fantastic message from you. Just out of the blue. Completing my viewing of the New Mutants, it was trash and garbage. You still stand by that?
It is trash and garbage. I'm astounded by the production value of this, and like I had heard the stories of, hey, they got rewrites, it went into production rework, I guess is what it's called.
Hell,
production hell. I don't know how much swearing we can. I want to avoid swearing. I would like to avoid it, but as much as like, yeah, this is a real piece of crap. Like I'm trying to put together a cohesive story, and the story didn't grab me. It didn't interest me. It was just long, as Mitch had pointed out. Like it just kind of dragged, and it's a 90-minute movie, and it just dragged. It just dragged for what felt like hours, honestly. And I did not even know the New Mutants was based on a comic book. These were the things where I was kind of hoping, hey, tell me the story of the comics because they will get me to go read the comics. But if you tell me this really bad story, I'm not really interested in reading the comic now.
The
Griffin, should
stories
I?
with these characters are worth
The
reading.
stories are great. New Mutants has changed a lot since the Krakoa stuff's happened in X-Men, so it's kind of about a different group of mutants now. But it's definitely worth reading because the DNA of New Mutants has always been in the more unsavory side of mutantdom, right? Of that side that we see a little bit in this movie of, hey, guess what? Sometimes when you discover your mutant abilities, you might accidentally hurt people.
It wasn't might in this movie.
No. Well, it is not might in the comics either. They hurt people.
Yeah.
Not on purpose. I mean, Cannonball is famously known in Marvel Comics lore for being one of the inciting people of Civil War. So, like...
That's right. He was.
Like, they hurt people. Not on purpose, but they do. And I think the actual characters are super cool. Because they really do... At this point, they've been around in the comics so long that they really are a family. And we get that. And we have some of my favorite X-Men characters, particularly in Magic and Danny Moonstar. I think this is one of those movies that's like, this could have been on the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? For like these characters that no one gave a crap about to make people love them. And the DNA could have been there, but just isn't. Yes, Mitch.
Put your hand is up.
Speedball, not Cannonball.
Speedball, yeah, right.
For
Sorry.
Civil War.
Thank you.
Because I thought the same thing when I was watching this movie. I'm like, I don't know enough about these characters.
Let me tell you about the X-Men Gold Balls. I'm not joking. That is an actual X-Men.
Why are there so many balls?
Would you believe me if I told you that Gold Balls was one of the most important mutants in the X-Men society?
I don't even know that mutant. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest.
Because he is. X-Men's weird, y'all. X-Men's really freaking weird. He does change his name because his name was Gold Balls. It's a horrible name. But no, I do love these characters.
So the comic, I read X-Men comics because I've read different iterations of the X-Men. The girl who Anna Taylor-Joy is playing is Nova, correct?
No, she is magic.
Magic. Oh, she's magic. Because she is also Colossus's sister?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I remember Colossus's sister dying at one point during the comic timeline, and that was the whole jumping off point for a lot of X-Men's dying. And I was like, oh.
So the whole thing about magic is that she quote unquote dies, but in actuality she gets kidnapped and taken to a land. It's essentially hell, called Limbo, which they rewrite for the purposes of this movie, and I vehemently hate it. But she gets kidnapped and becomes the princess of Limbo and grows up there, becomes extremely stunted by that, and eventually comes back and does stuff. She brings back Lockheed, who is great.
Right. So I don't want to jump around, but can you explain Lockheed the dragon to me? Because I did not understand him. I have seen him in comics before.
Because they don't explain.
They don't explain Lockheed at all, and Lockheed is fantastic. Lockheed, folks, is a purple dragon character who is most known for
Kitty Pryde?
being a friend of Kitty Pryde, right? Shadowcat. If I remember right, quickly checking, Lockheed typically has nothing to do with Illyana, except that like it was a fairy tale she was told as a kid in some early comic book. In actual like comics lore, Kitty meets Lockheed in space.
Yeah, he's an alien.
He's an alien.
Yeah.
You asked for comics lore, you got weird ass comic lore. Yeah, he's actually like super like hyper intelligent and stuff. Like, it's kind of hilarious.
So there is an instance of Lockheed bonding with Illyana when she is a member of the New Mutants. So like while the character is more commonly associated with Kitty, there has been there's this whole weird thing of like when Illyana was kidnapped and taken to Limbo, she was actually aged to being a teenager. So that when she gets discovered again, she attends the Xavier Institute, is Kitty's roommate, and then they bond. Or Kitty like tells her stories of Lockheed the Dragon or something like that.
And I will say that Illyana and Kitty Pryde are best friends. And it is the best friendship in comic books. They're also a little gay for each other, which is great. Because you need that in comic books. But no, they are like thick as thieves, which is hilarious because for a long time, Kitty was dating Colossus. They almost get married. And the person most upset about the marriage not going through is Illyana.
Okay, I'm going to need a bunch of issues from you.
I got you. We have a
There's
Discord.
A lot.
We have a Discord set up in our like D+S Discord that is literally just me sending Mitch comic book recommendations. So I got you.
You know how many of those I've read?
None of them. I assume
very few.
Hey, I know you've looked at Jeff's stuff. So
I've looked at a bit of Jeff's stuff. Yeah, because I mean, who doesn't love Jeff the Baby Land Shark?
Mm-hmm. But like all of this weird aside about how great they are, not to mention how great some of these other characters are. Like I mentioned, Danny Moonstar being like a badass telepath. I think more
Mirage
empath.
is a wicked character in the comics.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of her story definitely goes into some of the more stereotype stuff for Native American culture, which is typical for any character that was getting popularized in the 90s, frankly, as much as I hate to say.
I was going to say, she also appeared in the X-Men animated show, I believe, as a... no, that was someone else. That was a compatriot of Wolverine in that show.
Yeah, I think you're thinking...
I'm thinking...
of one of the...
I'm thinking
Alpha
that she showed up in X-Men Evolution. That's what it was.
Right, yeah. But yeah, she's awesome. Like, Wolfsbane, Rain Sinclair, it's also an awesome character.
Who has a really interesting relationship and backstory with Mirage, where like at one point she ends up losing her powers, but there's a mutant who can manipulate like the all living like materials and like reinstalls her powers, and then they have a relationship, but that mutant is also like the surrogate son of Mirage. It's a whole thing. It's really weird.
Even like Sunspot like joins the Avengers at one point. Like
Yeah.
he's like a major
Sunspot is
character.
essentially like Tony Stark with regards to money, but then has mutant abilities.
Sunspot eventually becomes one of like the protectors of Lady Exandra and like the what the heck was the name of the freaking space people with the Phoenix Saga? The Shi'ar.
The
Shi'ar,
Empire. Yeah.
Sunspot's
Like-
also a really, really good Marvel Snap card.
You had to bring it
There we
in.
go.
You had to bring it in at some point.
Well, it wouldn't be Mitch without
It
it.
wouldn't be me if I didn't.
I'm surprised you're not playing right now.
Well, why would I do that? We're recording an episode, Griffin. I would never do that.
As he closes the window. Now, all of this to say, though, like, there's a great base for these characters for this movie, and you can see little bits and pieces of it. I really love the casting of Anya Taylor-Joy as Magic. I think she could be perfect in that role, and the role is just not well written for it. I think, frankly, most of the casting in this movie is pretty great. But
I don't love Charlie Heaton's accent.
yeah, it's Charlie Heaton, but
Uh,
like it just feels like the fault on this feels like the fault in the Percy Jackson movie. The fault on this is not on the actors. They really did the best of what they had to work with.
What they had to work with was kind of hacked together through $1 billion transaction between two large companies and a global pandemic. So, like, there was no, I don't think there was a universe in which this movie was salvageable without, significant creative redirection, or at least more creative liberties taken with the license. We're actually seeing that this weekend with the Five Nights at Freddy's movie coming out. And with that, doing a similar thing to this of it is a quote unquote horror movie, sticking to that PG-13 frame. And it definitely takes away a lot of the, like, I'm not saying horror movies need to be rated R to be good, but I feel like that genre in particular needs a few more creative liberties taken in
I will
order
say the
to
only
make
difference
it an
is people
enjoyable
actually
experience.
liked the FNAF movie. Like people are actually into that movie. No
And
one
that's
liked
fine.
this movie when it came out.
I mean, no one likes this movie now.
no one's gonna watch this movie again.
Yeah, I really
This
wish.
is going to be one of the. This is going to be one of those things like with Jake Gyllenhaal and Prince of Persia, where, and if you haven't watched that episode, it's also up on the YouTube and the podcast services. He stopped acting in big budget movies for a very long time because of that starring role. I could very similarly see this being one of those things of like, yeah, we're not going to see Charlie Heaton or Anya Taylor-Joy or Macy Williams jump into the superhero space because of the fallout of a film like this, which is unfortunate.
Which
'cause they're all fantastic
I
actors.
don't see that happening, at least for Anya Taylor-Joy, who is fresh off the heels of Queen's Gambit and Mario. Like, she's just been
Oh, yeah, that's
kicking
true. She
ass.
was in Mario.
So she
No,
can-
I'm not saying like I think the big budget blockbuster kind of thing will be something they steer away from. Like, I don't think the Queen's Gambit lit the world on fire, but it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to sign up to do this Netflix dramatization of chess and have that be to the scale of Marvel. You know what I mean?
I mean, fair enough. What is like? Oh yeah, she also did like The Last Night in Soho and The Northman, where like she's still doing action.
She does. Yeah, she's in the good movies. She's gonna be
Yeah.
more selective.
Smaller and more selective films, not these big studio blockbuster films.
Man, do I have bad news for you about what the next movie she's going to be in is?
Is it the sequel to the Mario movie?
It's Furiosa. It's the next Mad Max movie.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
this
that would
big
do it.
blockbuster action movie.
Yeah, I forgot she was going to be in that.
I think she's definitely being more selective since then, but I think she's always been somewhat selective. I would very much see if they want to bring this character into the MCU, which they should because she's great.
Yeah.
I could very much see them keeping her as the actor for that role because she should be. She's very, very good.
Why have I don't get the whole Marvel Mutants MCU thing, because like
Taking too long to get to.
There's nothing to get yet.
And there's nothing to get. And to be fair, like what they've done post Endgame has kind of flopped from both a creative standpoint as well as from the box office perspective, other than something like, say, Loki or WandaVision, which were serial moments in streaming, but not so much that that's translated into box office success post Endgame.
Yeah, I think.
And I worry with the Marvels coming out in a couple of weeks that we're going to see a lot of the same.
Yes, another movie we will not be talking about.
Not a chance.
Which is a bummer because I'm really excited for that movie.
Let's hope it's good.
I'm going to be an evangelist for that movie no matter what. I hope you know that.
I know you're going to be insufferable in the best way.
Look, I just want us to get a musical. That's all I want. I want a full MCU musical. That's all. Because I want to see what that looks like.
We got that was Hawkeye at the end.
It became a full musical at Disneyland.
Full musical. One act.
It became a 30-minute production or 25-minute production, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Still,
great soundtrack.
More than nothing.
Bringing it back to this particular movie, I think it's really funny that they were in like the initial edits for this. They were like, "Oh yeah, there's no way that this is going to end up like Fantastic Four." Like that was something that they actively on the record said.
This is a movie that gets made so they don't lose the X-Men license, even though Fox is being sold back to Disney.
Well, this felt like when the spirit of this movie very much felt like they were trying to flesh out X-Men, right? Like they only had so much to work with before that because they didn't have any of the other Marvel stuff to pull from. They only had mutants. Yeah. And this is one of the rare ones they had pull from. And they were kind of trying to set up Mr. Sinister, Nathaniel Essex, as this big villain.
He was supposed to be in this movie, or we're leading towards it? Because
Mr. Sinister is...
Apocalypse.
So Mr.
John
Sinister
was
is
cast and recorded all of his scenes. It was just cut from the movie.
And he was also in the post-credits scene of X-Men Apocalypse.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, did you forget about that movie? Because I forgot so much of that movie.
No, I knew Essex was in Apocalypse, and I'm like, oh, that's Mr. Sinister's group. I'm excited. And then they take this, and then they put that movie out. And I'm like, that's what you were... Like, I'm telling you, I'm being honest here. Movie sucks. Hey, give me something positive to say. When they said that this is from the Essex group, I'm like, oh, okay.
It is a great reveal. Like, credit where credit is due on that. Like, this whole, like, them hyping themselves up of, like, oh, I wonder who could possibly be. And I'm just, like, casually him sitting in a wheelchair doing the... my thing, like it's great, and then the reveal
is a little guitar riff, and you know exactly what they're talking about because like that's what they did in Miss Marvel, right?
Yeah, I do think this movie has so many good ideas. It's just everything else is so bad. That...
Like the last third of this movie feels like it was like, okay, we're gonna cut a whole bunch of stuff out. So the big finale is that there's a demon bear. The end, like it feels so rushed for a movie that felt like it dragged so long through the first 2/3 of it.
How did they stop the bear again? I actually forgot.
She basically comes to terms with herself and like
she touched it on the snoot.
Yeah.
She booped the snoot and it went away.
Goes to sleep and then disappears.
Oh right, yeah, because Adam B shows up and says, "Hey."
Which is like I'm at that point I'm like I'm fine with this. I just need this shit to end.
Just end this movie, please.
But it does some cool stuff. Like Magic fighting the bear is fucking cool, and I stand by that. Like,
her like jumping through the portals and slashing up the Smiling Men was like,
or dope. Like when she's fighting the bear and like she'll slice that rift into limbo. That is cool, and it does look good. But
can you explain the Smiling Men to me? I did not understand what they were. Or
no, I cannot.
No, oh.
They are just terrifying.
That was something for the movie.
I wish they doubled down on that. I wish they picked a lane. I wish they either doubled down on the young adult aspect of it and like really made it a YA, kid stuck in a mental hospital vibe. Or they doubled down on the horror part of it and really was like from the very beginning, the Danny is causing these nightmares to appear and it's non-stop until the end. Like I really wish they doubled down one way or the other. And I think that would have made this a way better movie.
No, I can't speak to this because I never saw it. I agree with you. They should have probably kept this for the young adults. They could have made this as like a little TV series. and I never saw it, but it is on Disney Plus. Cloak and Dagger. I never watched that young
Cloak and
adult.
Dagger's great.
Is it good?
Or I love
2
it.
seasons worth. It was 2 seasons worth, and I was like, I kind of want to check this out.
So I
That's
never
young
saw
adult.
season 2. I did watch season 1. And it's not my favorite by any stretch of the imagination, but it's good enough. Gets
See,
the
that was
job
me
done.
with The Runaways, where I watched season 1 and then just didn't care enough to watch season 2.
Runaways was my bag. I loved Runaways. Season 1
Yeah.
at least. I never watched past that. I think there were 3 seasons.
There were
Runaways on Disney
3?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Are they on Disney Plus?
Probably.
I-
They were.
I'm
a
sure they
studio.
are, yeah.
Okay. Well,
Um,
there's some.
But yeah,
that's
like I feel like they
thinking
kind of had that
Iron
same
Fist
vibe
got
as
2
that.
Like Iron Fist got 2 seasons. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know. It's
do.
so bad. I never started it.
I recently rewatched all of those, and I'll tell you what, it was a slog through Iron Fist.
I never watched season 2 of Iron Fist, and season 1 was not easy. But did you hear with they've rebooted Daredevil Born Again, and the showrunner now is one of the showrunners of the Punisher show for Netflix, which for me is a good sign. Although I'm curious to see as they get back to filming that. They've said some of it's already been filmed and they're not going to reshoot it. So
Probably fight scene style stuff.
it's going to have a weird tonal shift at points, and it's going to be odd. But we'll see.
I mean, you never know. I'm looking to see where I'd put Punisher in the rankings.
See, that's another show I never watched season 2.
I put Punisher fairly low in the rankings. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
It is third from the last.
yeah, that seems fair.
The bottom 3 are Iron Fist season 1, Jessica Jones season 2, and The Punisher season 1.
Man, Jessica Jones was so good. Season 1 was so good. David Tennant is so good. And then they put out season 2.
Yeah.
Season 2 is like rough. Hellcat, everything Hellcat does in season 2 is great, and I stand by that. But alas, we're not here to talk about Jessica Jones. Maybe someday.
Someday.
We'll bring it back to talk about Jessica Jones season 2 when that's it. You don't get good projects to come to the show and talk to, Justin.
No.
Great.
Um,
So the group actually thinks they're going to be trained as X-Men.
Yeah.
Did anyone have any hopes of any X-Men showing up in this movie? I had hopes of
no.
somebody from the X-Men,
Like, here's the thing. This came out in
like Jean
2020.
Grey.
Right, like this came out in 2020, and like at this point, I was watching this because I needed to watch something,
Because it was 2020.
Yeah.
and like you gotta remember, like for the marketing for this movie, they doubled down on the horror shit.
Yeah,
Like they really said that this was going to be a horror movie, and this is all only going to be a horror movie. It's not going to be anything else, just a horror movie.
that washing machine scene was in every goddamn trailer. The only jump scare in the whole damn movie.
I don't know. The smiling men have a couple of jump scares.
No, they're just weird looking.
But it's funny, like they are kind of scary when they had like the mask on, and then I swear they take the mask off and it's less scary.
It's like, hey, look, it's CG Slenderman.
Pretty much. Yeah.
But I mean, this had like some real potential behind it. Like we were supposed to get a post-credit scene here, where we
There was
had.
no press scene, right? There was none, right?
There are no post-credit scenes in this movie.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
They were
I
supposed
did
to be
when
shot in
when it
reshoots.
went, hey, here, would you want to watch a better movie? Because that's what Disney Plus is suggesting. And the better movie was X-Men: The Last Stand. So that shows you how much I think about this movie, that I consider that a better film.
So there was supposed to be a post-credit scene introducing Sunspot's father, Emmanuel DaCosta, who was supposed to be played by Antonio Banderas, which would have been so great. There was supposed to be a Mr. Sinister scene, which we never saw. It actually, in fact,
like
never got
originally,
filmed.
Mr. Sinister was supposed to be the villain of the canceled Gambit movie, right?
That was a rumor.
Yeah.
It got denied, but who's to say? But yeah, we had that.
There's so much potential. Like that's the thing with the Fox X-Men universe is like unfulfilled potential of like X-Men Origin Wolverine was so good. until you got Deadpool not being able to talk and a couple of other weird choices. Like they're so close, yet they miss on like what makes these characters fundamentally interesting. And this movie is a prime example of that.
It's interesting following the line of their production on it, right? Like the initial cut, they had it where it's like, okay, they wanted to make it more horror-y, but they made it a little bit YA because they had to. Then it came out and they were like, okay, let's keep the horror aspects. Then they had to reshoot it because of Fox executive decisions, and that's when a lot of this change in the story came out. They were going to change the main like antagonist and everything and whatnot. None of that ever ended up happening because Disney then bought Fox, and essentially just shelved the project because they're like, this is not going to do good box office numbers. They did a little bit of extra work on it to kind of bring in a little bit more of the horror stuff back into the film. Did some test screenings. It's like, okay, it's great. And then a pandemic hits and they have to delay it yet again to the point where it's like no one gives a crap anymore. It has been years since this movie was supposed to be out. It's now March 2020. Who cares?
The world shuts down.
Yeah.
Eventually, the movie comes out in August 2020 and no one gives a crap.
No reshoots due to the pandemic.
Like
Disney originally, like as they were going through the acquisition process, was not happy with the cut and assumed it was going to have limited box office potential anyway. So I'm honestly surprised this didn't just get written off as a tax break like a whole bunch of other Disney projects have. Looking at you, Crater and Artemis Fowl and all these other things they pulled from Disney Plus.
Long Shot. Or sorry, Big Shot. Long Shot's that one Madden mode. Let's force our way through the plot super fast because it's something we keep saying we're going to do on the show. That's why I say super fast.
90% of it.
I mean, yeah. You have a good point. Yeah, Danny kills her tribe, wakes up in a hospital run by Dr. Cecilia Reyes, yada, yada, yada. You know the rest of it. I don't.
Well, the dad died and he was Adam Beach, and I was like, oh, hey, I know that actor.
Yeah, Adam Beach is in this movie
he's
for
in
5
a whole
minutes.
bunch of Canadian productions because they have to have a certain amount of.
Can we get him as a guest on this podcast?
Probably.
No,
No?
no, I don't think so.
Here's the thing.
I don't
We
think he
never
wants to
actually
talk
tried
to
to
us
get
about the
big
New
name
Mutants.
guests.
Yes, we do. We got Justin.
We'll get you some big name guests. I'll work on it.
Yeah, we're gonna work on that for.
Have I told you about the kind of shit that Justin has pulled over the years?
No, you have not.
I mean, it's not really.
I've had conversations with David Jaffe. I've had conversations with Adam Boyes from Iron Galaxy.
Let's see, Iron Galaxy now. Yep, that's where he is.
What else have you pulled? You pulled some weird shit.
It's funny you mentioned that, Mitch. Today was I think it was 7 years ago we met. I think it's 7 years because it was the anniversary of the first EGLX meetup with Kind of Funny
thing. Yeah,
that just posted up on my memories on Facebook. So, yeah.
Yeah, we finally have like a Kind of Funny group in Portland, and it's actually great to hang out with people.
Yeah, friends are fun.
Yeah, it's all good. We'll see who. Like I said, I want every podcast to succeed, so I will do what I can. Yeah.
It's almost like this podcast succeeds because we don't care if it does well. We just like hanging out.
Yeah,
That's honestly what this is hanging out, and at this point, just talking about terrible movies or animation
or good
due
movies.
to the strike
or great animation.
No, just the bad stuff.
Or
all
great
things are on strike.
And we talk about good old animation, and we're going to talk about something great next episode. So,
what do I have to watch? Shit, I gotta go.
You don't gotta watch anything next episode. We've talked already about what next episode's going to be.
Oh, is it the game one?
Yeah, it's the game one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll find it.
You've already 100%ed it.
Maybe we can get a poll for that. Honestly, I think we've got a few connections in the games world.
Look, I got to be careful on that one. You know that.
No, I know, but we'll talk after. We'll talk.
All right, let's talk about the actual plot. Of course, folks, we talk about the plot. We go through the plot beat by beat every episode. And I'm going to be honest, it's becoming more and more taxing the worse these movies get. Because I have to recap some pretty shitty movies. So this movie starts with Danny Moonstar waking up on her reservation that she's being devastated by a tornado. Gets waken up by her dad. Everyone dies. She goes unconscious and wakes up in a empty hospital run by the kind of creepy Dr. Cecilia Reyes, who's kind of being comforting. Turns out she's a mutant. Man, we get a reveal of that, and then no one gives a crap.
Nope.
We eventually meet the other teenagers that are stuck here. Samuel Guthrie, aka Cannonball, Ilyana Rasputin, Magic, Roberto DaCosta, Sunspot, and Rain Sinclair, Wolfsbane. Reyes is essentially, all of them have had these horrible tragedies in their past, just so that we go through all of them, because we have to. Sam discovered his powers while in a coal mine with his father's coworker, killing them all. Roberto discovers his powers, accidentally burning his girlfriend to death. Rain discovers her powers to essentially become a werewolf, and tells her priest this. Her priest then goes crazy, branding her a witch. And I do genuinely mean branding her. And
what they don't get into
him.
here, which they do in the comics, is that the priest who does this to her, the essentially who acts as her adopted father when her mother dies during childbirth, is actually her biological father, and her mother was a sex worker. So there's that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's actually
Seems
something
to tell.
interesting in the comics.
Yeah.
And Ilyana, who is a lot. There's a lot there that we are not going to get into.
No, we need a whole episode on Alien.
Yeah, they're all mutants. Roberto,
Really? In a movie called The New Mutants, the main cast of characters mutants? Color me shocked.
I know, mind blowing.
Shocked, I say.
But
I
they're
do
troubled
appreciate though that in this entire movie there is like one character who is not a mutant. Like everybody in this movie is a mutant, and I kind of love that for an X-Men movie. But yeah, so Cannonball can fire himself off very fast. Ilyana has her portal magic. Sunspot has solar powers, and like I said, Rain can turn into a wolf. They're essentially thinking that they're being trained to join the X-Men, so that and learn to deal with their trauma so that they can harness their powers and fight. That's not what's happening. They're actually being trained into becoming weapons for the Essex Corporation, run by Mr. Sinister. And they're essentially taking their blood and using it for evil purposes. We don't know what more than that. Yeah.
Which we actually get a great connection here between this and Logan, where, I mean, we get it a little bit later, but we get that Danny has that vision and that footage is direct from Logan. So like there is a direct tie. And the assumption there then is that Laura Keeney?
Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah. Also known as X-23, also known as the girl that was in Logan, was being held by the Essex Corporation, and that connection is kind of neat to find out in retrospect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Essex Corporation essentially revives the Weapon X program.
The Weapon X program, yeah.
But yeah,
Is
they
that
kind
the way
of.
it goes in the comics, or was this something specific to the films?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. It would have been an
Yes,
interesting
no,
throughput
not
between
really.
these terrible movies to set up Sinister as a big bad, and then
Here's the
Disney
thing,
buys
the
Fox.
Logan is kind of just exists aside from any comic books, because it pulls from Old Man Logan, the death of Wolverine, and like a bunch of other stuff. It's a really an amalgamation that turns out really well. Another episode in the future. But yeah, they eventually start to bond with each other. I totally forgot, by the way, in this movie that Ilyana starts out like kind of racist towards Danny. Like not kind of, just like making extremely racist comments towards Danny.
Straight up offensive.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah.
And like you can tell that they're trying to write this in the way if it's like, oh, Ilyana's just trying to get under her skin. It's like, no, this is more than that. This is her being racist. It kind of just being shit. Y'all write better. Just write better shit than that. But yeah, everyone eventually starts to bond. We learn a little bit about everyone. Like Ilyana has this hand puppet of a purple dragon named Lockheed. I love the hand puppet. The hand puppet is such a great thing to me. you know, we have our little bits and pieces here. Like, Roberto's kind of a dick, but he does.
Yeah, he's like a playboy.
But he does legitimately care about everybody, right? Like, I do like that we have these teen relationships here. We start to see a relationship actually form between Rain and Danny. Kind of. I don't know if it's really there, but you know, good for them. They're teenagers locked in a small confined space with each other. I'm sure that something was going to happen, right? Like,
Yep.
Eventually, Danny is going through more treatments with the doctor, and she starts to be putting her under drugs and whatnot. And every time she does so, Danny's powers flare up, causing another one of the people's traumatic events, forcing them to relive their most traumatic events. Which, again, is like such a great base for a horror movie. Why did we not get into this until like 40, 50 minutes into the movie?
Which feels like it's been 2.5 hours.
They go on and so forth, whatnot. Eventually, Reyes hears back from her superiors that Danny's powers are too dangerous. She needs to collect Danny's DNA and murder her. As she's trying to do so, her powers go full haywire, manifesting the
Nightmares.
Ilyana's like monstrous recollections of her childhood abusers, which she refers to as the Smiling Men. Everyone gets attacked by the Smiling Men, while Rain is saving Danny from Reyes. Everybody is running. Danny again is passed out from drugs this entire point, because of Reyes. They're learning all this stuff. They're trying to break out. Reyes is revealing to everyone, ha ha ha, it's been Danny the whole time. No one's going to hold it against Danny, though, because she is fucking evil. She's so evil that no one gives a shit. She eventually forces them all into force fields and is, like, slowly closing them. I love when people do this with force field shit. She's like, you're all just going to pass out, except for Danny. I'm still going to murder her. At which point the demon bear shows up and kills her. Danny, in her sleep, has managed to manifest her own greatest fear. In fact, the fear that killed her father and her tribe. It was not a tornado, it was her. We have this moment of everyone fighting it. We get this the cheesiest fucking line in this entire movie of Magic going out to fight it. And it's like, you can't fight it, it's magic. So am I.
So dumb. That was like
so fucking cheesy.
I feel like they wrote that of like, this is our I am Iron Man moment. This is going to be huge. Everyone's going to go, oh!
So bad.
And it was so flat.
Yeah, a lot of flatness to everything.
I'll tell you what, though.
Happened.
Do I pop off when Lockheed shows up? Yes, I do. Because I fucking love this stupid dragon.
I love Lockheed as a character. They do no justice to explaining why there's a purple dragon alien.
You don't need... Well, he's not an alien. He's a manifestation of Limbo in this.
Which is probably worse.
It's the Limbo rules of this are super stupid. Because it's like,
there are
she
no
made
rules.
this space.
That's
no,
the rule.
It's stupid. It is fun, though, watching like her armor form on her arm and then her sword appear and then she fights with it. It is cool. Everyone fights the demon bear. Bit by bit, holding it back while Danny is essentially fighting for her life in her subconscious. She's following a manifestation of Rain until she eventually talks to her dad, who's like, what the fuck are you doing? You need to get back to life now, man. She goes, accepting her pain and loss and tragedy, confronting the demon bear, causing it to calm down and dissipate. And of course, because this is a cheesy movie, suddenly it changes from nighttime to daytime.
Daybreak kind of happened, yeah.
Yeah, right? That perfect timing of a cheesy-ass movie.
Don't forget, there's also that whole scene where there's like this romantic relationship forming, and she takes her on a date to watch rain hit the bubble. And we stare at this red bubble for like 5 minutes for some reason. Like this movie has no qualms of just like, hey, look, spectacle. Although there's nothing happening, and
That's
things
very
just
much
change
the
out of
YA
nowhere.
part of this movie. Like,
It's so
which
bad.
I really don't think needed to be in this movie at all. But I actually like the romance aspect of it. Like that we could have kept that.
The two actors are really good, and they do what they can with what they're given, but what they're given is utter garbage.
It does look kind of fun though. The
Yeah,
effect of the force field does look kind of cool.
It does, but it's just like, why?
Why not? This movie is entirely why not. It's why it's such an amalgam piece of crap. Yeah. Eventually, though, they realize with the good doctor dead, they can leave, and they repeat their line from the beginning of the movie. Of she always said the nearest town was like 20 miles away. She could have been lying. Because, we got to get a callback at the end of this movie.
Because why not?
And they walk up into the sunset. Or I guess the sunrise.
I thought they were walking towards becoming X-Men or trying to go find the X-Men.
I mean, that's probably what they would go do next. But I'm assuming as, teenagers, they want to, like, get, like, real food or some shit first. Or, like, figure out what the hell they're going to do next.
Man, it just was very slog of a movie. It just felt like... I know I was watching this movie to be on this podcast, but it just felt like it just did not flow. It could not keep pace. It was all over the place.
The fact that there is more pacing for this story in my recap than there is in the movie tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, it's a shame. Because like you said, there are parts where the actors do the best they can, and they are talented people, but it just wasn't there.
In a world where X-Men The Last Stand, X-Men Origins Wolverine, and the Wolverine's actually not too bad. In a world where X-Men Apocalypse exists, this is without a doubt the worst adaptation of Marvel's Mutants that exists. Period. And that should be about all you need to know about this movie. Please don't watch it. If you got to this point, you've gotten everything you need to out of that movie. Like, it's not like you even look at those other movies I just brought up. Like, Last Stand has its moments. There's some fun, campy moments. I'm the Juggernaut bitch. Like, that exists and it's funny and it's memeable. Like, there isn't a memeable moment in this movie. There isn't one memorable thing to take away from this movie.
Yeah.
So, as I meant to mention, I try to come into these with some, like, comic books like that I would recommend if you want better stories or, like, related stories. Honestly, go just read anything New Mutants in comic books today. Like, it is all going to be better than this.
I currently have the Kindle Unlimited app subscription for a few months, so I will take you up on that and actually look up the New Mutants.
Would I highly recommend? It is not the same group of mutants, but New Mutants Lethal Legion is the most recent New Mutants comic book. It is kind of reworking, the New Mutants have kind of been reworked since the Krakoa change to be about the younger mutants on Krakoa.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a very interesting way of going about it. I would recommend a lot of the more recent New Mutant stuff, even going back to before they changed it to this. Jonathan Hickman wrote some pretty decent stuff back in 2019, which is them going into outer space. And it's, weird space mutant shit, but it's kind of fun. And I really think it's a great example of how these characters really give a shit about each other and really care about each other. Like, the reason they're going out into space, they have, like, legitimate things, but they're going out to, like, just go find one of their friends. That's most of what they're doing. Like, there's good New Mutant stuff out there, and I would recommend going and finding that rather than watching this movie.
Yeah, I've been reading, or been trying to read. I've been slacking a little bit, and I got to get back to it. The run of X-Men that gets up to the Krakoa incident and all of that stuff, and I've got like 15 years of comics to catch up on to do that.
Oh, you're going way back.
Challenge. Oh, I'm going right back to the start of like the
the time travel stuff.
Not even the time travel stuff, like the shoot, I can't see. Oh, maybe I can see it in here. Yeah, like going way, way back, like to the start of all new X-Men, I think it is where I was. See. Yeah, so like going back to like 2012. No, that's not what I was looking for.
Rip.
The Marvel, get your shit together when it comes to Marvel Unlimited. This site is awful.
This is why I read
It's so
physical
bad.
comic books.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong. I'm just an asshole that would rather just read them online because I've already paid for the subscription and I'm not using it nearly enough.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
I recently
Well,
got the subscription again just so that I could get screenshots for a video.
Of course you did.
Well, it's also 10
Is that-
bucks.
That's what we. Yeah.
So that's the movie. That's it. There was no post-credit scenes. Nothing.
Nothing. There is no
Nothing.
future for the X-Men at the moment.
I would love. So we know we're getting Deadpool 3. We know Deadpool 3 is going to be some sort of weird amalgamation of like Deadpool kills the Fox universe, essentially. And that's going to lead directly into the events of Secret Wars. I do expect maybe not a reference to this movie in particular, but like that is going to be the jumping off point for mutants in the MCU. It's not going to be like they're not just going to drop and be like, yeah, they've been here this whole time. It's going to have to do with this larger. What I'm assuming, and I've been thinking about, like I've been saying this the entire time, I do feel like Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars will be a soft reboot to the MCU. And I do think they needed after all this time and to do something different and creative and get back to the roots of what made the MCU special in the first place. And I think part of that is going to be setting up the mutants as a key player. So while I can't wait to hear Ryan Reynolds to make jokes about this movie, and that's probably the best thing that could come out of this movie.
I could totally
jokes
see them
that are gonna be
having
made
a
in Deadpool
scene
3.
where like they come up on the hospital, right? And Deadpool's just like, I'm not even going to waste my time with this shit.
Yeah, like that's what I want. That's all I need. And now that you've been on this episode and we forced you into watching this movie, Justin, you'll understand that reference. And for that,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Thank you. I
And again,
So happy to
you're
be
sorry.
here.
I'm sorry.
apology accepted. I am looking forward to future episodes where I'm not forced to watch crap.
You can come on anytime for whatever good thing you want to talk about.
Will do. We're going to hold you to that one.
Absolutely.
Yes, we'll have you back for like an actual fun episode with something fun to rave and rant about. But if people want to keep up with you until then, where can people find you?
You can find me on X. I guess that's what we call it.
I still follow Twitter.
Yeah, JUSHIN. Jushin is my handle. And you can find me there. That's the best place to find me and reach out and talk. Movies, nerd stuff, anything.
Do it. Link will be in the description, as always. Mitch, if people want to keep up with our dumbasses, where can people find us?
Keeping quiet on the internet because the world is a hellscape and there's also a writer's or the actor strike going on. So we're not talking about a ton of stuff. We're not publicizing this as much as we normally would. If you want to keep up with our dumb shenanigans, most of my stuff's at Mr. Mitch George on all the socials. Griffin's at Griffy Dpad. That's GRIFFIDPAD. The show is at D plus us, plus spelt out
follow
on
us on
most
TikTok.
platforms. Yeah, TikToks are fun. I'm sure Griffin will find something in this episode to make me look stupid like he usually does on those TikToks, and I love him for it.
I've got some really funny ones at this point.
YouTube.com/at D plus us is a great spot. Go hit subscribe, catch all our episodes, go back, listen to some stuff you might have missed out on. We've had some wonderful guests. We've talked about some wonderful things and had a fun time talking about some terrible things like we did tonight.
Go check out our other stuff. There's so much happening. Our previous episode about Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, unfortunately the movie, not the video game, is up and available if you want to see us talk about another shitty movie. So go check that out. Of course, now is the fun time. I'm going to tell y'all what the next episode is because I'm fucking excited. We're talking about good shit next week. We are breaking the world of movies again. We are going to talk about a video game, a very good video game. We will be talking about Marvel's Spider-Man 2. It will be full spoilers. It will not. We are not going to hold back, so keep an eye out for that. Beat that game before coming and hanging out with us in a couple weeks.
Yeah. I just beat it today. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, much better use of your time than the New Mutants.
Feels about as long as New Mutants was anyway.
Even though it's like 10 times the length.
25 hours.
Yeah, it's pretty lengthy if you try and do anything.
Yeah. Go check that out when it comes out. We will see y'all in the future. But until then, have a magical day.
Excelsior, I guess.
Yeah, that was weak.